Well, here in our studio is Audra Burgener. She is Amber Hoops' aunt, and for the past several years, I guess you were telling me since 2005, you've really been instrumental in Idaho Missing Persons Day.
Yeah, I've focused on that after Amber went missing, trying to get September 14th proclaimed as Idaho Missing Persons Day. So in 2005, it was proclaimed, the governor signed. In 2006, we had our first event at the Sam Benyon Center.
And there'll be another event. I want to talk to you about that in just a minute, coming up on Saturday, on the 14th, on the anniversary. I want to go back, though, to the day that Amber disappeared. What do you remember about that day, the night, I guess?
I was going to go camping the next morning for about 10 days with some friends. So I saw Amber, I saw Amber at Mom and Dad's house Tuesday or Wednesday, and we were watching TV, watching the stuff on 9/11 and all that tragedy, and I was kneeling down beside her, and I said, I don't know what I'd ever do if you went missing. And that as soon as I got the phone call from my mom about 4 o'clock in the morning, I remembered what I had said to her. Mom said, Amber's missing and the shop truck's gone. And I knew right away something was wrong. Amber wouldn't have run off. She had no friends to run off. She didn't drink, she didn't party, she didn't have a boyfriend, she wouldn't have stolen the truck. If she would have wanted to go anywhere, she could have taken her car that was sitting right outside.
But she took the shop truck.
Somebody did.
Someone did.
I don't think she did, somebody else did. Well, she was in it.
Right. So she was staying with your parents in the home right next to the shop.
Yes.
And your mom calls and says Amber's gone.
Yeah, well, Mom saw Amber at 10:35, said goodnight to her. The bathroom separates the two rooms, Mom and Dad's room and Amber's room. Amber was laying on the floor, reading a magazine, watching TV. Mom said goodnight to her. Mom got up at 1 o'clock to use the restroom, saw what time it was, and Amber's light was still on and her door was still open a little bit. So Mom peeked her head in, and Amber wasn't in there. And Mom saw some lights on in the house, and she turned off all the lights before she went to bed. So she went through the house, saw some lights, didn't see Amber, saw that the light going to the shop, because there's a sidewalk that separates the house and the shop, and that light was on. So Mom thought she was out in the office, so she went out in the office because there was a computer. She was known to email people out of the country and download some music. And Mom couldn't find her in there, so she went and woke up my dad. And he came out, and he was the one that noticed the shop truck was gone, because they're all parked in there nice and tidy, and it was right inside the door, the overhead door. So there's only one specific way to get out, because, well, there's two, but you've got to have a key for the front, the great big gate. And the only persons that have that key is the owner of the shop, my dad, and the record driver. So you had to have worked there or been a family member to know that you go around back through the field and out through the end. It's about 2-block distance, and you go out on Lincoln Road.
And is that the way the truck was taken out?
Yes. And then and it was wet. It had rained a little bit, so there were marks going the other direction to the right.
So what'd they do then?
So they called the police after looking and calling the family, and they were kind enough to come out, but they really did. They thought Amber was just fooling around. She stole the shop truck. She'll come back. Not to worry. She just is having fun with some friends, and we just knew that wasn't the case. In fact, we all had a suspicion of who took her. I say that because probably about 3 months before Amber was abducted, there was an employee at the shop that left. I don't remember if he was fired or if he just left on his own, but he did not get along with my dad. My dad didn't get along with him. And he went and sold the Mac Tool stuff in the Mac Tool truck. And he came to the shop to sell the tools, and Dad asked him to leave and not to ever come back. So Mark said, I will make it my lifelong vendetta to ruin you. And I'm not sure that he actually was out there to take Amber, because after 9 months later, he abducted another girl. And after that girl got away, people in the shop then came forward and said he was stealing things out of the shop. He'd go in there at night. So possibly he was in there at night stealing things, and Amber was in the office, and they ran into each other, and he had to take her. I don't know.
So I didn't know he had worked at the shop.
Yeah, he worked there for several
And
years.
what was his name?
Keith Hescock.
Yeah. Okay, so you all thought pretty quickly that it might be him?
Yeah, absolutely. We told him right away.
You told the cops.
Uh-huh.
It's him.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, are you all trying to go out and search for her?
I went and made flyers. I just remember being on TV. The first thing you do, you make flyers, and that's the only thing I knew what to do because it was still dark. And I made flyers at the place that I worked. We got those out to gas stations out on the highway, everywhere. And then as soon as Heavenly and Brent's ward found out about it, we had hundreds of people down at the Arnold's Bar X, it was called, where the shop truck was found. Mm-hmm. And actually the shop truck was found about 2:30 in the morning by an officer that was coming to the house. And he felt the hood of the truck and it felt warm. And there was dust lining over the truck, but the truck had been wiped down otherwise in the inside with fingerprints. So there were no fingerprints that were useful.
So one day goes by, then 2 days, then 3 days.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're hoping, every morning this is going to be the day they find her or find something.
Well, there were, interesting enough, the shop truck was filled up with fuel the night before or the day before. So they kept the odometer readings, and there was a certain amount of miles put on the truck that no one from the family or the shop had done. So we searched in that direction, and then the vegetation that was found underneath the truck, a professor in Pocatello said that those vegetations only are in High C area and the Bone area. So we focused our attention to the High C area and searched there. And we searched in town, out in the country area, and then we focused in the High C area.
So the mileage that was on the odometer would have made sense had it driven up there.
Yeah.
It would have equaled out.
Yeah.
And then the truck was ditched
Yeah.
there at Lincoln Road.
Yeah, because I think Hescock, had his motorcycle there and went behind all the houses on Lincoln Road, got into the shop because he knew they didn't lock the shop at night. And that's what he told the other employees, if you ever want to come in at night, they never lock it.
And she would go into the shop to email.
Yeah, most every night.
So did the police ever talk to
Yes.
Hescock?
He denied it and he said he was home, and his family gave him an alibi.
That he was home.
Yeah. But then 9 months later,
Right.
he abducted the 14-year-old off the trampoline, and that brave little soul got away and led the police there. They hid out. He came back from work. He called in and said he couldn't come to work, and they insisted that he come. So he had her chained up and zip tied up, and she was able to get away. And the policeman hid out, and then as he was coming home, he saw them. So it was a high-speed chase all the way up past High C. I'm not even sure the area anymore, but it's a long ways up there. Mm-hmm. And he got out of the vehicle. He had phoned his mom and said that he wasn't going back to jail or prison, and left her a message. And then he stepped out of the vehicle, walked a few steps, pulled his gun, shot and killed the canine officer, and wounded a deputy. And I think another one was shot in the shoulder. And then they fired back, and I think they hit him in the shoulder, and then he shot himself. So if he's the one that took her, well, I don't think he would have ever told us anyway.
You don't think he would have?
No, I don't think he wouldn't have.
Do you think someone else knows more that's still alive? Someone's still alive today?
I think possibly they do. But then his family was interviewed again after he killed himself, when they admitted they lied about the alibi, that he wasn't home.
The family did?
Yeah, that he came home, switched vehicles, and left again, and took the truck. So I think he took her, put her somewhere, dead or alive at that time, and then went back to her, and then moved her somewhere else in his vehicle. And then came home with wood. He came home with, he'd gone and got wood for the fireplace.
And there's never been a sign of her since?
No, nothing. And we've searched and searched and searched. And we would search again if we had any idea. But there's so much space out there.
Right.
We searched the Bone area this last fall. Took some cadaver dogs out there and nothing was found. So we're focusing our attention now on High Sea area, up higher, where he killed himself.
Do you think that he was tied to Stephanie Crane?
Yes, I absolutely do. In fact, he worked for my mom and dad's business, and his truck was the same color and design as the truck that the people saw up there at the time by the bowling alley. And then the FBI got involved after the 14-year-old girl was abducted. So they get involved in the case, in Amber's case, and they want to see if we have the timesheets of Hescox for that day. And luckily we still had him and he wasn't at work. He was hunting, and he actually did kill an animal. He tagged an animal that weekend, or that week, whenever it was. But I do believe he took her.
And that was, I think, 93. So that would have been, 8 years earlier.
Right.
And this was, for those unfamiliar with the story, she was a young girl who left school. I believe she went to a bowling alley in Chalice.
She was
walking home and was never seen again. And that one is still unsolved. So he could potentially be tied to that one, this one, and then the girl on the trampoline who fortunately got away.
Yeah, that was incredible.
So what do you want people to know about Amber?
I want them to know that she was just a wonderful human being. Loved her family, loved children. She was very, very shy, though. Wouldn't go to the store by herself. Her best friend was her little sister. Very sensitive, very smart. Just an all-around good girl.
And you said she had a job doing what?
She was a nanny for a couple in Idaho Falls for their 2 children. And she just adored them.
And she had graduated from Bonneville High a year or 2 earlier.
Yeah, and she was going to go to culinary school up at BYU.
Wanted to be a chef.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. What's your hope? What's the purpose of Idaho Missing Persons Day?
It's to bring awareness and education and prevention to the city of Idaho Falls, and to give them tools in case this happens to their family, that they have information out there, where to go, what to do. And to remember not only Amber, but all the hundreds that are missing. And of course, it's the day that she went missing, so it's an anniversary of 23 years. But I just want people to focus just half an hour on the missing people. And if they ever know anything, just a little tidbit of something that they think is important, share it with somebody. It might be, it might not, but what would it hurt? There'll
be a special, memorial, you could say.
Yeah.
At noon on Saturday in front of the Bonneville County Courthouse, and you all are invited, the public's invited. Do you ever think about where Amber would be today?
Oh gosh, I think she'd be married and she'd have children, for sure.
Yeah.
She loved children.
Yeah. What would you say if someone watching knows something?
Oh, I would desperately plead with them to go to the police and let them know. It's been long enough. And if the man that we believed took her, he's not here anymore. So he can't do anything to him. And if they weren't in it with him, then they're not going to go to jail. Yeah. I just plead and beg for them to go to the police.
Yeah. Amber Hoop's missing since September 14th, 2001, 23 years. Mm-hmm. And hopefully this is the year that maybe she's found and you can have her, return to your family. Yeah, we can have peace of mind. I don't like the word closure because it never really, you still have questions of why and how and where, and in finding her, it would give me peace in my soul and my family peace. Yeah. Good. Audra, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Appreciate you coming in.